In today's fast-paced world, emotions often take control, but Gautam Buddha's teachings offer a powerful tool: non-reaction. By choosing not to immediately react to external situations, you regain control over your emotional state, fostering inner peace. This simple practice can transform your life, helping you respond with clarity rather than impulsivity. In this video, we'll explore Buddha's wisdom on emotional control and provide practical steps for mastering non-reaction. We'll cover Buddha's teachings, the science behind emotions, the role of mindfulness, and how to practically apply these concepts to your everyday life. Buddha's teachings on emotional control. Building on the concept of non-reaction, Gautam Buddha's teachings provide profound insights on mastering emotional control. Buddha understood that emotions are powerful, yet fleeting. Instead of suppressing or reacting to emotions immediately, he taught us to observe them with mindfulness and detachment. He believed that our emotional responses, often triggered by external circumstances, are temporary and should not define our state of mind. Buddha's teachings emphasize the importance of awareness, being mindful of our emotions without letting them dominate our behavior. When we react impulsively, we are often slaves to our emotions, acting out of habit or frustration. However, by cultivating awareness, we can break this automatic cycle. Buddha encourages us to pause, observe, and understand our emotions before reacting. In doing so, we regain control over our actions and avoid the emotional turmoil that follows rash decisions. In his teachings, Buddha refers to the concept of equanimity, the ability to remain calm and balanced regardless of external circumstances. Equanimity is the foundation of emotional control because it allows us to respond to life's challenges with clarity and wisdom, rather than frustration and anger. Buddha often stated, "You will not be punished for your anger, you will be punished by your anger." This highlights the destructive nature of unchecked emotional reactions and the importance of self-regulation. Buddha's emphasis on mindfulness and detachment doesn't mean we suppress our emotions, but rather learn to observe them without attachment. When we attach ourselves to emotions like anger, sadness, or fear, they begin to control us. By practicing detachment, we create space between ourselves and our emotions, enabling us to decide how we want to respond instead of reacting impulsively. This ability to observe emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them is what leads to inner peace. Buddha encourages us to view emotions as clouds passing in the sky. Just as we don't get attached to the weather, we shouldn't get attached to our emotional states. They are temporary and part of the human experience, but they don't have to define us. The concept of right action from the Noble Eightfold Path also aligns with emotional control. By choosing our actions wisely, based on compassion and understanding, rather than impulsively reacting to emotions, we align ourselves with our highest values. Buddha taught that our actions, born from clear awareness and compassion, lead to happiness and harmony, both within ourselves and in our interactions with others. Through Buddha's teachings on emotional control, we learn to recognize our emotions, observe them with compassion, and choose a mindful response. This practice not only brings peace but also fosters deeper self-awareness, compassion, and wisdom. It's a transformative way to live, moving through life with greater clarity and less emotional chaos. The science of emotional reactions. Building on Buddha's teachings of emotional control, it's important to understand the science behind emotional reactions. Why do we feel the urge to react instantly in certain situations? What triggers these emotional responses, and how can we learn to control them? The answers lie in how our brain processes emotions and the body's automatic reaction to stressors. Emotions, as we know, can be incredibly powerful. Our brain is wired to react quickly to perceived threats, which is part of our evolutionary survival mechanism. When we experience something that provokes an emotional response, like anger, fear, or anxiety, our amygdala, the brain's emotional processing center, becomes activated. This is often referred to as the fight or flight response. In these moments, our body releases stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, preparing us to respond rapidly to the situation at hand. While this can be helpful in some situations, such as avoiding physical danger, it often leads to knee-jerk reactions in everyday life, especially when we face stressful or emotionally charged situations. The problem with this automatic reaction is that it's not always appropriate. When we are triggered by a rude comment, a misunderstanding, or a frustrating situation, our brain responds the same way as if we were facing a life-threatening danger. This often leads to emotional outbursts, poor decision-making, or regret. The impulsive nature of these reactions can harm relationships, cause stress, and prevent us from acting rationally. This is where the science of mindfulness and emotional regulation comes in. Research has shown that with practice, we can strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and logical thinking. Through mindfulness techniques like deep breathing and meditation, we can activate the prefrontal cortex before reacting to a situation. This helps us step back, evaluate the situation, and choose a thoughtful response rather than simply reacting in the heat of the moment. Mindfulness practices help us create space between stimulus and response, allowing us to pause and gain awareness of what we are feeling before acting. By focusing on the present moment and observing our emotions without judgment, we can avoid getting swept up in them. This scientific understanding ties directly into the wisdom of Buddha's teachings, being aware of our emotional reactions, observing them without attachment, and choosing a response that aligns with our higher self. Ultimately, the science behind emotional reactions reinforces the power of non-reaction. By strengthening our emotional awareness and practicing mindfulness, we can break free from the automatic fight-or-flight responses that often lead to emotional chaos. When we take the time to pause, breathe, and reflect, we not only regain control over our emotions, but we also make better choices that lead to a more balanced, peaceful, and fulfilling life. This scientific approach, when combined with Buddha's wisdom, empowers us to navigate life's challenges with grace and clarity, rather than being ruled by our emotions. The role of mindfulness in emotional control. Building on the science of emotional reactions, the practice of mindfulness offers a powerful tool for regulating and controlling our emotions. As we learned, our brains are naturally wired to react instantly to triggers, but mindfulness creates a space between stimulus and response, allowing us to pause, breathe, and choose our reaction consciously. This is where mindfulness becomes essential in mastering emotional control and achieving inner peace. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present in the moment, observing your thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment. It encourages awareness of both external circumstances and internal reactions, enabling you to understand how emotions arise and evolve. The beauty of mindfulness lies in its ability to ground you in the present, preventing you from being swept away by past regrets or future anxieties. Instead of reacting impulsively to a stressful situation, mindfulness invites you to respond thoughtfully and with clarity. In moments of emotional intensity, mindfulness helps you to take a step back, creating a mental space to observe your feelings without identifying with them. This is crucial because often we let our emotions define us, feeling anger, fear, or sadness as part of our identity rather than as temporary experiences. When we practice mindfulness, we acknowledge these emotions without attachment. We realize they don't control us, they are just passing states of mind. For example, the next time you feel anger rising, instead of lashing out or suppressing it, try pausing and noticing the sensations in your body. Is your heart racing? Are your muscles tense? Is your breath shallow? By bringing attention to these sensations, you interrupt the automatic emotional response. In that pause, you can make a conscious decision. Will you react, or will you respond in a way that aligns with your values? This moment of awareness is where real change happens. Mindfulness also helps you to cultivate a sense of compassion towards yourself. When you begin to observe your emotions without judgment, you stop blaming yourself for feeling a certain way. Instead, you acknowledge your emotions with kindness, understanding that it's okay to feel upset, frustrated, or sad. This shift from self-criticism to self-compassion creates emotional resilience, helping you bounce back more easily from challenging situations. Incorporating mindfulness into your daily life can significantly enhance your emotional control. Simple practices such as deep breathing, meditation, or mindful walking can help you build a stronger awareness of your emotions. Over time, these practices increase your ability to respond with clarity and compassion, rather than react impulsively. Ultimately, mindfulness offers the key to transforming how we engage with our emotions. Rather than being at the mercy of our feelings, we learn to navigate them with wisdom, patience, and intention. With mindfulness, you gain the power to control your emotional state, foster peace within yourself, and respond to life's challenges with greater calm and composure. It is a practice that aligns beautifully with Buddha's teachings, guiding you towards emotional mastery and lasting inner peace. Embracing acceptance. Letting go of control. Building on the power of mindfulness in emotional control, another key principle to mastering your emotions is the practice of acceptance. While mindfulness helps us create space between our emotions and reactions, acceptance allows us to fully let go of our need to control situations and outcomes. It's about recognizing that we cannot control everything around us, but we can control how we respond to what life presents. Acceptance is not about giving up or being passive. Rather, it's about releasing the need to fight every situation, every emotion, and every external challenge. It's about realizing that many of the things we try to control, other people's actions, outcomes, or events, are beyond our influence. This understanding frees us from the constant struggle and stress that often accompany the desire to control the uncontrollable. When we accept things as they are, we stop resisting and start living in the present moment. This mindset shift is deeply aligned with the teachings of Buddha, who often emphasized that suffering arises when we cling to expectations, desires, and attachments. Acceptance helps us break free from these attachments, allowing us to flow with life instead of fighting against it. For instance, imagine you're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. The natural reaction might be frustration, anxiety, and the urge to control the situation by speeding or stressing over the delay. However, acceptance invites you to acknowledge the situation for what it is, without adding extra layers of judgment. By accepting that the traffic is out of your control, you allow yourself to breathe, relax, and focus on what you can do in the moment. Perhaps you can use this time to listen to a podcast, practice deep breathing, or simply reflect. In that moment, acceptance transforms a potentially stressful situation into an opportunity for calm and presence. Embracing acceptance also helps you manage relationships with others. Often, we try to change or control people to fit our expectations, leading to frustration and conflict. When we accept people as they are, with their flaws and imperfections, we let go of unrealistic expectations and create space for genuine connection. This doesn't mean we allow toxic behavior, but we stop trying to force others to meet our desires. Instead, we learn to respond with compassion and understanding. A powerful way to practice acceptance is by repeating mantras or affirmations that reinforce your commitment to letting go. Phrases like, "I am at peace with what is," or "I trust the process of life," can remind you that you don't need to control everything. By embedding these affirmations into your daily routine, you train your mind to embrace acceptance and reduce emotional turbulence. The practice of acceptance, therefore, is crucial in mastering your emotions. It allows you to live with more peace, serenity, and a deeper sense of self-compassion. Letting go of the need for control not only lightens the emotional load, but also brings you closer to living a life aligned with the teachings of Buddha. It empowers you to navigate life with grace, knowing that acceptance is a gateway to inner freedom. The power of detachment, liberating yourself from emotional chains building on the practice of acceptance. Another profound method for controlling your emotions is detachment. While acceptance teaches us to stop fighting the things we can't control, detachment takes it a step further by freeing us from our attachment to outcomes, people, and even emotions themselves. Detachment is not about being indifferent or emotionally distant. Instead, it's about experiencing life without becoming overly entangled in it. The root of emotional suffering often lies in our attachments. Whether it's attachment to a specific outcome, a person, or even a belief, we tie our emotional well-being to something outside of ourselves. This creates dependency and vulnerability. When we attach our happiness to external circumstances, we lose our emotional freedom and become vulnerable to pain, disappointment, and frustration. Detachment, on the other hand, allows us to experience life fully while remaining grounded in our own sense of inner peace. Buddha's teachings on detachment are profound because they recognize that clinging to things or people only leads to suffering. By practicing detachment, we learn to engage in life without allowing ourselves to be controlled by our desires or fears. It's the ability to fully enjoy the present moment, knowing that nothing is permanent, and that it's okay to let go when the time comes. For example, imagine you've worked hard for months on a project at work, and it's finally time to present it. Naturally, you want it to succeed, but if you become too attached to the outcome, the pressure can overwhelm you. By practicing detachment, you allow yourself to do your best, but you release the need for a specific result. You recognize that success is not solely in your control, and you are at peace with whatever outcome arises. This shift in mindset creates freedom from the anxiety of needing things to turn out a certain way. Detachment also plays a significant role in relationships. Often, we become emotionally dependent on others for validation, happiness, or support. While relationships are important, Attachment to them can create unnecessary stress and even lead to unhealthy dynamics. Detachment doesn't mean we stop caring about others. It means we stop relying on them for our emotional well-being. We learn to give without expectation and love without clinging. One way to practice detachment is through mindfulness meditation, where you allow thoughts and feelings to come and go without holding on to them. You observe them, acknowledge them, and then let them pass, much like clouds drifting through the sky. This practice trains you to not identify with your emotions, recognizing that they are temporary and not an inherent part of who you are. By cultivating detachment, we gain the power to live life on our own terms, unburdened by the weight of expectations, attachments, or emotional chains. It is a form of liberation, where we can enjoy life's blessings without becoming possessed by them. Detachment allows us to experience true emotional freedom and resilience, embodying the peace that Buddha spoke of, a peace that comes from within and remains unshaken by external circumstances. Responding, not reacting. Mastering emotional awareness following the powerful practice of detachment, the next step to mastering your emotions is learning the art of responding rather than reacting. While detachment helps you loosen your emotional attachments, responding instead of reacting builds emotional awareness and control. Reaction is often impulsive, triggered by an immediate emotional surge, whereas a response is thoughtful and intentional, driven by awareness and mindfulness. When we react emotionally, we often do so without considering the consequences. In those moments, our emotions control us, dictating our behavior without us even realizing it. This is when impulsive words are spoken, rash decisions are made, and hurtful actions occur. On the other hand, responding requires us to pause, observe our emotions, and make a conscious choice about how to act. It's about taking a breath, reflecting on the situation, and deciding how we want to engage with the world around us. Buddha's teachings often emphasize the importance of self-awareness and the need for discipline in how we respond to external circumstances. When we cultivate emotional awareness, we can step back from our initial emotional reaction and choose a more mindful, thoughtful response. It's about recognizing that we don't have to be controlled by our feelings. Instead, we can control how we express them. For example, let's say someone cuts you off in traffic. The immediate reaction might be anger, frustration, or even road rage. But if you pause and choose to respond instead of react, you might find that the anger fades as quickly as it arose. You realize that the person's actions are beyond your control and that responding with anger only harms you. By shifting from reaction to response, you allow yourself the space to choose a more peaceful, calm approach. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings, but rather, you acknowledge them without allowing them to dictate your behavior. Responding thoughtfully is particularly important in relationships. Often, emotional reactions can escalate conflicts, leading to arguments that might have been avoided with a more measured response. By practicing emotional awareness, you can notice when a conversation is starting to trigger an emotional response and take a moment to collect yourself before speaking. This pause allows you to avoid saying something in the heat of the moment that you might regret later. One way to cultivate the skill of responding rather than reacting is through the practice of deep breathing or mindfulness exercises. When you feel a strong emotion arise, take a few deep breaths to calm your mind and body. This simple act of slowing down gives you the space to think clearly and make a conscious decision about how to respond. It's a practice that strengthens emotional resilience, allowing you to approach life's challenges with a sense of inner peace and clarity. By mastering the art of responding instead of reacting, you gain the ability to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and emotional intelligence. You stop being ruled by your emotions and begin to take control of your reactions, creating a sense of calm and balance in your everyday life. This practice not only improves your emotional health but also enhances your relationships and your ability to handle stress with poise and confidence. If you found this video helpful and inspiring, don't forget to hit that like button. Sparkling Heart, your support means the world to us, and it helps us create even more amazing content just for you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What's your favorite takeaway from today? We'd love to hear how you're implementing these powerful lessons into your life. And hey, don't miss out on more motivational content. Hit the subscribe button and explore our other videos to continue on your journey of self-improvement and growth. Seedling, keep shining. Sparkles.